in China right now. But the national security threat from China has gone beyond the COVID cover-up, the surveillance of Americans, intellectual property theft, and China's propaganda war, to also now include a potential threat to America's food supply through China's ownership of American farmland. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, China owns nearly 400,000 acres of land in the United States through the end of 2021. That's nearly double the size of New York City. Joining me right now on the national security threat of communist China controlling U.S. farmland is South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Oh, good morning, Maria. Thank you for inviting me to talk about such an important topic.
Exactly. I know that you're backing this bill, which would ban China from owning U.S. land. But let me ask you straight away right here. Do you think right now is the time to restrict travel from China as well?
You know, it's interesting. I think that it is something that they need to be evaluating. When you look at the viruses that we obviously have a history in coming overseas and impacting the United States, we need to remember as well that China controls 80% of the supply of our prescription drug ingredients as well. So not only do they outsource their viruses to the United States, then they also control the ingredients and the drugs that we need to take care of Americans here today when they do get sick. So we're extremely vulnerable during our winter months. We need our prescriptions, our antibiotics. Our babies need amoxicillin to get through difficult times, such as facing these viruses. And the fact that China controls that supply chain as well should be very concerning.
Well, you're right. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we learned that they will use it against us. They had their quote unquote media, which is, of course, state run propaganda, say in a tweet, well, maybe we won't send those prescription drugs that America so badly needs to America right now, during the pandemic when we were most in need of them. Talk to us about this bill that you're backing, preventing the CCP and others, adversaries, from owning U.S. farmland in America. What is the threat?
You know, it's incredible, Maria. In over just a 10-year period, we saw China increase their purchases of American ag land, increase by 5,300%. That means they aggressively changed their tactics to start buying up our land. And they're buying our land near our strategic Air Force bases, our national defense resources, and they're doing it in a way to continue to build this agenda to destroy the United States of America. They want to become the world dominating power. The only way that they do that is by eliminating the United States of America. So for 25 years, I've worked on food policy. I've watched them buy up our fertilizer companies, our chemical companies. They own our processing systems. Now they're purchasing up our land, and America needs to wake up and recognize that aggressive action needs to happen. We've been working to address it in our state, but Congress needs to take action. That's why I'm supporting Chairman Gallagher's bill. I'm asking him to put it in the National Defense Authorization Act. It would make sure that any kind of land purchase near these national security efforts would be evaluated, and that CFIUS would have the authority to go forward and make sure that it stops and does not happen that impacts here in the United States.
Of course, Governor, this could not be more important, and yet Joe Biden has all of these meetings with Xi Jinping, and none of these issues ever come up.
No, and it's interesting to me, Maria, when the first headline I saw after that meeting that he had with Xi Jinping was that we may get pandas back. And so that's how unfocused this administration is on what our true threats are. And, you know, China has long been stealing our IP, they're manipulating their currency against us. When I was in Congress, I worked on trade agreements with them, and they were incredibly unfair and manipulating their regulatory practices against us. But this move, the last several years that China has made by purchasing and owning our mineral supplies, our prescription supplies, and now our land and our food supply, make no mistake, we could in a couple of years here recognize that we are under the control of the CCP, that communist China has more authority in the United States of America. And that's why I get out of bed every day, is to make sure that my kids and grandkids have the opportunity to live in an America that I had the chance to grow up in and be free.
So what can we do about this, Governor? In terms of the farmland that the CCP already owns, can America just seize it? Can we transfer it to American owners? What are the options here?
Yeah, I think absolutely. If we understand that the CCP owns this farmland, first of all, we can't allow the sale to go forward. There's an evaluation step that can happen before the purchase ever happens. Then we can go forward and force them to sell or penalize them and encourage them to divest. Maria, I've also been asking Vanguard and other investment companies to create an emerging markets fund that does not include China. You know, so many of our states have investments that we have for our pensions and individuals as well that want to invest their money into funds that do not support China. And we've been asking those to do so as well, to change those funds and allow us to do it. And it hasn't happened yet. So that's another area where Congress could take action is they've so infiltrated our society that so many of our retirement funds, our pension funds are supporting communist China as well. And we need Congress to step up and force Vanguard, force these other retirement companies to not call China an emerging market anymore. It's not an emerging market. It's a dominating power, and they need to be in a different fund so that we can divest from them. We did it years before from Sudan and Iran. It happened. We can do this again. It's not remaking the wheel, and I'd ask them to do that as well. I've got a Congressman, Dusty Johnson, who has brought a bill that I've asked him to, and I'm proud of him for doing it, that will do exactly that, and I'm hopeful that will gain support in Congress as well.
Well, I'm so glad you brought this up. This is an issue that I have talked about a lot as well. I don't know why we don't use that economic lever to push back on this aggression from communist China. Ours are the most deepest and the most liquid markets in the world, and we've got all of these Chinese companies that are in our indexes and enabling investors, American investors, to actually fund the expansion of our number one adversary. The thrift fund has been an issue for sure, and we did get one victory on the thrift fund that they're going to allow, people to take that option out in terms of buying China. But why not more? Why is the Treasury so afraid of pulling that economic lever, shutting off our capital markets?
Yeah, this Treasury obviously is being influenced by lobbying efforts that have their own self-interests in mind, not America First policies. So we need a change in the White House, and we need a White House that's determined to protect America and instead stop funding these communist countries that want to destroy us. So that's the reality of it, and that's what we need to be talking about to allow us to continue to be safe and secure.
Governor, thanks very much for all your efforts on this. Great to talk with you this morning. Thank you.
You too, Maria. Have a wonderful day.
Right. And to you, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Quick break, and then Chinese nationals are also taking advantage of America's wide open border with apprehensions of military-aged men from China in the thousands just in the last few months. Who's directing